Shalom, fam. Shalom. Today we're going to go into this genealogy, what I was talking about before, which everybody should be doing. We're going to go into the Calloways and the Callaway history, family crest, and coat of arms. You know, they saying it's coming out of England, but you know how the hijack goes and how these guys bamboozle and put the gypsy twist on everything. So let's just get into it. And by the way, how my Callaway ties into, that's on my great granny side, my mom's mom. So my mom will be a Potts. Her father was a Potts. My great grandfather was a Potts. And there's not too much history about my mom's dad on her dad's side. But she just knows that when I talk to her, and this is crazy, y'all, because I think his name was, my sister went through it on Facebook with his sister or daughter or something like that. But they're Williams, Calvin Williams. So we know that's the Williams side. I ain't able to know too much about that and go through the genealogy on that because I'm not too much sure about where to go from him and where he was born at. My mom really don't talk to him at all. My sister's friends with, I think it's his daughter or sister or something like that. And they speak. But, you know, there's no information or knowing. And I tried to reach out to her on Facebook. She probably really don't want to deal with us like that. I guess she just deals with my sister. But anyways, going back to the Callaway side, which is my great-grandma and my grandma's, because my grandma is my great-grandma's daughter, even though she's Bernice Potts, but her mom is Alma Calloway. That's weird, huh? Alma, A-L-M-A. It's a weird name. And then once you start doing this genealogy, you start finding out also, too, I think I stated before that the names are common. The only time to start switching is with our generation and probably a little bit before, because I'm born in the 70s. And so I think that's when the switch started to happen. But before that, you see, because my mom's an Alma, A-L-M-A, which was her grandmother. My great-grandma is an Alma. So you start seeing these changes and things later on in the years, but this is one way, I guess they always knew who was who throughout the family. So that goes to tell you this is not no slavery or what they give you. And like they're going to give us their names. Like they really want us to have their names. Like if they're considering you non-human, eighth of human, or however they was talking about, they're not going to want to give you their names. They consider you worse than an animal or dog. So they're not going to give you their names. These is names that we already had. And this goes on to show that we already had this stuff because we have weird names. Like I have on my Sanders side, which is my dad, his, I want to say great-grandfather, my 2 times grandfather, I think is Sanders. And that's where you see like Odessa Sanders. And then on my Callaway side, we have Odessa Calloway. We call her, when growing up in the church and all that, when we used to, you know, go through the bamboozle as we was kids and going through that, Sister Odessa. So those are names you find with the pale faces. So these names are unique that we have. And we have Tero, like those, like, what kind of names is that? Uncle Tero and stuff like that. But anyways, let's go into the Callaway so you can know how my Callaway side ties in through. And I'm going to post some, you know, some of my genealogy stuff on there with the Calloways and stuff. That's my grandmother is a Potts through her father, which is my great-grandfather. But she's a Calloway on her mom's side. So just like we were talking about, the Callaway history is the family crest and coat of arms, so-called coming out of England. But we know as we start to read that these guys was coming over here taking our names. And genealogy is important, so you guys got to make sure that you're looking into it, doing your genealogy. Hope you guys like this, though. See the wolf on there? And that's something else I'm going to go into, really, about when I was a kid and when I was hanging with the so-called the Native Americans, the younger ones, as I was going to powwows and going to drum ceremonies and all these ceremonies, sage ceremonies. But I went on they were called a vision quest when we were all fasting. I think I fasted the longest without eating or drinking anything for, I want to say, 4 days. And I was having all these visions and stuff, all kind of visions and dreams. But I had a dream. I don't want to go into too much detail because I want to do it later. But anyways, let's just say that I was approached by a wolf in the woods in my vision dream. And it was around some fire. It was like he was trying to attack me. And I was like looking around like, where's everybody at? Where's all the people at that I was here with? It was like we was having some ceremony. And we're out in the fire. I want to say after we were at the sweat lodge. And then we went and stood by the fire. But then it seemed like everybody disappeared. And it was just me. And the fire was like a regular sized fire. But it like grew big. Like it was protecting me. And the wolf was on the other side of the fire. And it was a pack of them. But it was this one wolf that just kept looking at me like weird. Like he wanted to tear me apart. And I'm like, what the heck? And naturally, I'm spiritually attached. Even my great grandma said that. With animals, dogs in particular. I've always grown up around. My family coming out of Louisiana, we've always had pit bulls. Always growing around them. And there was family pit bulls from my family coming up from Louisiana to the West Coast. And they would have some they would bring that were naturally, I guess, somewhat people aggressive and dog aggressive. But I would go around these dogs and they wouldn't harm me. And this is serious. So this leads into with my vision, what I was going through in that vision dream with the wolf. And there was a pack of them, but this one that stood out and he kept looking at me, watching me. And like he was trying to find a way to get around the fire, like he wanted to attack me, like he wanted to destroy me. And I was like, what the heck? And like, I'm like trying to make sure he don't attack me and which way I'm gonna run and everything. He comes around that fire because there's still like, he can come around it, even though it grew like it spread. But there was a way he could come around it. But anyways, make a long story short, now I don't want to give you guys too much detail because I'm going to go into it later about a lot of visions and things I've had throughout life. But he ended up getting to the point where he was impatient, like trying to attack me and get at me. And I was like, okay, I'm good. He ain't going to come through the fire. He ain't going to try to jump through it. And then he ended up jumping through the fire. And so before I awakened, he didn't attack me. It's almost like he jumped into me and I became him. So that's the reason why, like the two birds of the feather is something that I have pondered on and everything, and came up with that, me and my son. But really, this wolf means a whole lot. It's significant to me. It has a lot to do with my ways and being connected with animals and dogs in particular. Like I said, I've always grew up around pit bulls. Anybody in my family, they're on my YouTube, so they can tell you in the comments that that's what I bred and raised was pit bulls and papers on them, registered and everything. And, you know, so little thing about me, and I'll go into details because a lot of y'all probably want to know more about me and everything. So we're going to go into the Callaway settlers in the United States in the 18th century. William Calloway, who landed in Georgia in 1734. Will Calloway, who settled in Georgia in 1744 with his wife Susanna. Calloway settlers in the United States in the 19th century. Arthur Calloway, age 30, who landed in New York in 1812. Jacob Calloway, who arrived in New York in 1812. And like I told you guys before, Cab Calloway, which is a singer, is my relative. And there was always family history on him and stuff that he wasn't wasn't really like approachable. He was distant from the family, I guess. But the Calloways are a weird family, and I told you guys that before. A lot of them really do embrace this so-called African culture, and it's weird because there's no proof of that. And to make a long story short, a lot of them, I'll read into this, that a lot of them are teachers, and they're into the church thing. They're very heavily into the religious things. And you know, religion is not what our people is. That's what they came and gave us. We're naturally a spiritual people. We connected with the Most High. So then we'll go into the Callaway settlers in the United States in the 17th century. Though Callaway, who arrived in Virginia in 1666, and that's his name, though Callaway, T-H-O. Callaway, who arrived in Virginia in 1666. We have Peter Callaway, who landed in Maryland in 1672. John Callaway, who arrived in Maryland in 1673. Anthony Callaway, age 39, who arrived in Maryland in 1688. So let's go into this. I did it the previous video, I think. One of the previous videos about the Callaway migration to the United States. A lot of these people didn't have anything. So it's only natural they would come and start taking up our land and stuff and taking on these names. So we have, for political, religious, there we go with the religious, and economic reasons, thousands of English families boarded ships for Ireland, the Canadas, and America colonies, and many smaller tropical colonies in the hope of finding better lives. They're trying to find better lives because y'all know that however they got injected into the game that we talk about this world, because they had to come from somewhere, and there's no ancient records of them, and there's no indigenous Caucasians. These are new people on the scene. This is why Hitler and them was doing all this. It's new. When you look at the activity of them, and this is not all pale faces, but you look at certain bloodlines of these pale faces, they have these same like traits of being new, where they're experimenting on each other. You know, Holocaust means sacrifice by fire. So they're sacrificing to find out who they are and what role do they play in this game called life that they got injected in. And you know, this all falls into the fallen children of the fallen angels. So then you find this in hope of finding better lives abroad. Although the passage of the cramped, y'all see this? They're cramped, dank ships caused many to arrive in the New World diseased and starving. They're diseased and starving. So when they come into this New World, so-called, which is the old world, and we're helping them out, just like our people are, lovable, helpful people, and these people got diseases, what do you think is going to happen? It's weakening them. It ain't going to kill them all off. There's never been a disease in history that's wiped out a whole population of people. Might do some damage, but it'll never wipe them completely out. So once you understand that, then you know what's going on, and you know the whole trickery of the words and how they fabricate stories. So dank ships caused many to arrive in a new world diseased and starving. Those families that survived. Now, if these people are going through this into the so-called new world, which is new to them, they're diseased and starving, and y'all think that so-called Africans that's starving and going through all this ain't going through the same thing, I mean, I don't know what to tell you. And sickly, and you think they're going to come here and be the majority, which they lie to you guys and tell you you're the minority. Everywhere you look or any events you go to, you're going to find us. We're the number one consumers. They tell you of Jordans and all this stuff. So no, you guys got to understand that and think. Don't be taught, think. That's the problem with our people. We have a problem with just thinking for ourselves. You're always being programmed off these television shows and all this garbage, roots, fake plagiarized stuff. You're always being told things instead of going and researching yourself. finding out if what you're being told. You can't go through the people that you think, or you claiming that these people raped and enslaved you. And and that goes into another thing. When I was talking to an elder at work, and I do this with my Hispanic buddy, which he knows. You know, he's been doing research, and I tell him looking at things and stuff like that. But then I just put over some of the elders and stuff that's born in the 50s. You know, closer to those years that people talk about. And I asked them, what do you know about slavery? And none of them know anything. They just will automatically assume they were slaves or descendants of slaves. And then I asked them, what oral history? Can you tell me a family member that told you they were a slave? And as we walked up to him with my buddy, just to show him, none of them. None of them can give me a name, person in their family, stories that were told down to them. And then me and my buddy was talking after that, and I'm like, you see how my people are? They go by the slave stuff, and there's no oral tradition of it, of them talking about, oh yeah, you know, your great auntie such and such was a slave. So we had that problem. You know, you guys got to deal with this problem you're going through. But you always taking people's word for it, and you let them be the victors when they're not. And they haven't beat us with anything except for with the paperwork. And really, they're not even doing that. We just so in a state of blackness, like the color, that's not compared to my skin. We're so much in a state of blackness in the mind that the things that will make sense to other people doesn't make sense to us. So that's another thing that you got to understand, that when the Most High says that what he was going to do and cause us to fall asleep and go through all these things, that's what you would have to do. That's why I'm like, there's no other way around this, but there's a higher power. Because how could our people be so dumb like this with the stuff that makes sense? And it like got us all like in this confusion and disconnected from each other, because you're like, man, how do they believe this? Like, do I feel like I'm the only one on this journey? Like, I know my family and them, my wife and them, they all know that. My daughters and them know. My son. But what about everybody else that should make sense when they talking to their people? Or when you do your genealogy and you're not seeing nobody that's a slave on a plantation. And if they are, they're not even having the same names as the slaveholders. And you're like, hold on, I'm reading the first story about slavery, about this person being enslaved, and this is his master, and he never even had this guy's last name. He got a whole different last name and everything. So back to what we're saying. So they arrived to so-called New World, which is the Old World, diseased, starving. Those families that survived the trip often went on to make valuable contributions to those new societies to which they arrived. What valuable contributions? We the only one that's been building and doing everything here in our land, America, the motherland, America, the heritage, our heritage, American heritage, America. We the only ones that's been doing this. When you look up all the inventions of the so-called African Americans, like I went through before in the video, you see everything that we've done. Because we home. When you look over in Africa, there's no inventions or none of that. Everything we do causes the world to follow and do what we do. Everything. These pale faces haven't brought nothing new. And nobody else has brought anything new. So-called Africa or none of that. We're the ones. The technology you're holding is created by us. Everything you're seeing and watching me on this and scrolling through your YouTube and all this stuff, all this internet technology was created by us. All of it. Created by the ancient ones. So, and it says, early immigrants bearing the Callaway surname or spelling variation of the name include, so we have these spelling variations, right? So sound was guided spelling in essentially pre-literate Middle Ages. So one person's name was often recorded under several variations during a single lifetime also. Before the advent of printing press and the first dictionaries, the English language was not standardized. Therefore, spelling variations were common, even among the names of the most literate people. Known variations of the Callaway family name include, like I told you guys before, you have Calloway, and then you have the ones that conclude, like you see with the golfing, like I told y'all, we're going to get this money and we're going to bust their butts, get everything up out of them. They done tricked and took our names and took our identity and everything and turned us into this mark. You know, back in the days, we used to call people marks. You Mark, you Jake. You know, that's what the black mark is. You know, you took a status, blackness. We got marked with this black crayon color that we don't fit the description of, right? Except for mentally, we are in a state of blackness. Our people are we some of the most intelligent, but like they say, some of the smartest people do some of the dumbest things. And we are, and we have taken on that crayon color as a heritage. The whole African thing, we know we colonized that place, West Africa and all that. And then all of a sudden you fast forward, like I said before, and then here's the DNA trick. After we done colonized it, you know, the ancestors probably didn't know what was being played on them, but it's a bad thing what they did. So, like they say, the chickens that come home to roost. And it did. So now we do have relatives over there. You can't get around that and say, oh no, those aren't, some of those people aren't our people. If you're being honest with yourself, you know that if our people went colonized and they have that flag over there and they call it Americans, then you know some of those people carry some of our bloodlines of our ancestors. And not all of us. That's why it's good to look at these names and then look up who went over there in the military and colonized that. So you know if you have family over there. Right? We're going to be truth. We don't try to duck and hide and dodge reality and real. You should know, but that doesn't make you any less than American. Just because your family went over there, ancestors went over there and colonized it. I mean, hey, we did some wicked stuff. Whatever we've been doing and was doing before, it came back. And like it says in the scriptures, come to visit the iniquities of the fathers, forefathers, the children of the children, and future generations. And this is what we got going on. So until we figure this out and know and turn from what we've done, which is repent, turn away from what you've done, clean it up, ain't no way up out of this. The picture's looking real blurry. And they got us in a cold chokehold with all their programming and everything they've done against us. Vaccines and everything, the water. They got the people going in unnatural ways. Got our people going in unnatural ways. We're not doing anything natural. And you guys already know what I mean by that. Everything that we're doing is unnatural. And that goes on to show too. And not to veer off the topic, but how the heck is these so-called Africans, right? They over there blowing up schools and killing children all over West Africa and stuff, right? It's Islamic and Christian wars and all these religious wars, right? But then they letting these rappers come over there, right? Cardi B, Ludacris, all these other cats bringing this filth. How is that possible? They're killing people over there for religious politics and stuff, but then let these people come over there that's talking about stripping and busting it down and all this other stuff, guns, busting, drugs, gangs, and they letting these people come there and get off planes and everything. What? What kind of sense does that make? So what's really going on? These are things y'all gotta question. What's the game being played? It's another one trying to take us off the land. And they use these fake rappers, these so-called stars, fallen stars, which is an angel, use these stars that we've got to lead the people astray because they look up to these people. We don't. The ones who's woke don't. We don't care about all that stuff. A lot of our people do. They wear Gucci this, Gucci that, and be riding off in a Honda Taurus, or a Ford Taurus. If you're talking about you like expensive things, you should have expensive car, expensive life, expensive everything. What good is it to be jumping out a dang 1996, 1993 Honda Accord with some Gucci slippers on and a belt. You know, so our people got a lot of backwards activity, man. And they already know how Gucci and them and all these dang labels that they like is racist and don't care about us. And these people still go around and wear it. Don't support their own people and buy their own people's stuff, but want to wear this type of stuff. But anyways, let's go back. So you have the Callaway, which is Callaway, 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 or Callaway. What were they called away from? Their heritage? Broken away? Okay, then you have Kellaway, Kelloway. Then you have Kellaway, Kallaway. See all these name variations? Callaway and others. So y'all see how this is with the genealogy too. This is how they play the tricks and everything. Shout out to the family. You know, my son and them, they out right now. He's out with his mom. He couldn't be here. And when I feel the way to move, nowadays I'm just moving the way I feel like the Spirit is leading me to move, the Most High. You know, or the Ruach with the wisdom, the mother. So if I feel like I want to move, that's how I'm moving. And if my son ain't here or if he's here, y'all see. But however the Spirit is moving and that good energy, that's what I'm just going to come right in and give it to y'all. So in 1840 to 1920, you can see how Callaway families moved over time by selecting different census years. The Callaway family name was found in the USA first, the UK, Canada, and Scotland between 1840 and 1920. The most Callaway families were found in the USA. The most in the USA. In the 1820s and 1840s, there were 16 Callaway families living in Alabama alone. This was about 14% of all the recorded Callaways in the USA. Alabama, number one, and other state had the highest population of Callaway families in the 1840s. And it says, Callaway family occupations. What did your Callaway ancestors do for a living? Let's get into this. What did they do for a living? This right here is to a T of what the Callaways and my family are like and what they do. And these are the ones that consider us, like what I was growing up and being told, and why we weren't around them, and more with our Potts people, was that they considered us like the black sheep of the family. Because they go off they're the ones that get colonized through the school's education and go off into the Africa theories, and all the theories they take as facts. And a lot of them is teachers, like I told you, religious leaders. They're in the Freemasonry, all that stuff. So in 1940, labor and maid were the top reported jobs for men and women in the U.S. named Callaway. 16% of Callaway men worked as laborer, and 11% of Callaway women worked as maid. Some less common occupations for Americans named Callaway were farm laborer, which I find all throughout the people. They're farmers and laborers, and you have teachers. So on that, y'all pay attention. So as we're reading all this, does this make sense to y'all? That we've been given their history? It's crazy. These people that have been injected into the game, into this world, the game of life, came in, gave us their history, and flipped it like they're the ancient ones. This is just, it's like, I'm telling y'all, man, you got to know that there's some high strangeness behind this. The fallen ones. These UFO abductees and the ones that always get abducted all the time. These people have been injected into the game. They have no history. and they come in and consume the people like they've done in Australia. They take away the people's cultures and become the culture and push the original people in the back. And the original people, you're going to find them in large numbers because they didn't kill off the aboriginals in Australia. And they dang sure ain't killed off the aboriginals of the Americas. We still here. We just been done through the paper tricks, the Walter Pleckers, paper genocides. All these people had a hand in working against us and destroying our identity. And they became it, along with the names they've taken from us. So make sure you guys doing your genealogy and looking up and looking through all these things, and you're going to find these gems. You know, and then, like I said, I'm going to post about the Calloways, show you guys some genealogy and stuff I find, some names. Shout out to Dan Calloway. If you're a Calloway man, reach out. Let's talk about it. Let's go through these genealogy records. Let's see. Because I traced mine, like I just told y'all, from my granny, my mom, which is originally as a Potts, or Calloway, Potts, through her grandfather, my great-grandfather. But her mom, Bernice Potts, her dad, Zach Potts, her mom, Alma Calloway, which is my great-grandma. And then her family, her dad, Chunk Calloway, that's his name too, Chunk Calloway, or it's Arshel too. They have Chunk and Arshel. And then they spell it all kind of different ways. They'll go from Arshel, A-R, what is it, S-H-A-L, to Arshel, A-R-C-H-I-E-L, Arshel, Bushel, Calloway, Arshel, Chunk, Calloway. All these names. Then you go from him, go to his dad, which is James Calloway. And he's born, I think, in 1853. I'm going to post it so y'all can see. Not a slave. Slavery was abolished in 68? He's born in 1853. Farmer, laborer, and all that, youngster, and all this. Like, I don't know, y'all. Y'all know what the business is. I don't know what to tell y'all, the ones that's just stuck in this, like, cartoon land, you know? The Easter Bunny people that believe in that still believe in the so-called white Jesus and somebody coming to save them and, you know, all this garbage, you know, Santa Claus. All the tooth fairy stuff. They give you all the fairy tales. We once believed it as children. But as the scriptures say, once again, y'all know that, what I once did as a child, as I grew, I put away childish things. That's what y'all got to do. You got to grow. Grow up. Stand on your own too. Do your own research. And on that note, and I'm going to go into some other things, get deep with y'all. We're going to start getting deep and we're going to talk about some, I got all kind of like notepads of visions, dreams, things that's strange that you guys would be like, what the heck? And maybe some of y'all can identify with it. I can tell you about the pictographs before me even coming fully into this knowledge. I have the dates, times, and everything. While I was waking up, whole bedroom full of pictographs all over the wall. To the point, even later on, my wife started seeing them. And I was telling her, and she was kind of, you know, believe me, but like, what the heck is going on with him? Like, you know, believing, but still not like sure. To the point she started waking up and seeing it like we was inside some type of ancient wall or craft or something with numbers. Sometimes waking up with numbers. I got the dates, times, and everything. and seeing all this stuff. Waking up numbers all over the walls. Waking up with pictographs, hieroglyphics all over like the whole like walls all around me. And I'm like, am I woke or asleep? And I'm looking like, and if I tried to sit up and focus on it, they would disappear. So I'm going to get into a lot of this stuff. Get into my son. We're going to have him sit down, talk about, because that's what I told you guys. Houston is I ain't going to say weird, but it's a high, strange place with a lot of like phenomenal activity that goes on here. UFO type activity, everything. And my son was young. Him and his buddy seen one and ran in the house and called me. And this is when they was like 6, 7. And then I seen one. And there's a lot of abductees and things that happen down here. Not with our people. Some reason with them. Some reason with these certain pill faces. They're always getting snatched up. You know? There's all kind of stories of it and everything. But there is a lot of stuff that happens here. In Houston, we have a problem. Houston, we need some answers. Texas, across it, Stevensville, all this stuff that be going on, mass UFO sightings, you are in the most exciting place you can be, the greatest place you can be. You don't have to worry about the coronavirus, none of those things. That's what goes on over there in these other lands, not in the motherland. We good. Right? The Most High showing you he got that power, that hand over us. So that should be something that rings bells to you guys. Like, why are we never getting abducted? We know of these things. They're all over on pictographs and hieroglyphics on the walls here. But what about over in the other lands? And like I said before, when we're doing all this and talking about England and so-called Europa, which is a so-called black goddess they say is a myth, which you know it isn't. There's never no myths made for us. They just considered us, you know, the worst things, the worst. This is what the Most High brought against us when he said that. So these angels came down and they created something and put some cold gypsy twisting on history and us, and something hit us with something to where we can't even really focus. Our attention span is short. So on that note, just make sure you guys doing your genealogy, and we're going to get into a lot of stuff. We're going to go through back and forth with the genealogy thing. I'm going to show you guys a lot of stuff that I found. My Pot side, Chapman side, the Sanders side, like I told you guys before. Williams, I'm going to try to go through there and try to figure out ways to get through there. But like I was saying, that's who my mom's dad was, who she never knew, was Calvin Williams. But she knew of his mom when she was younger. One time she went and seen her grandmother. And she literally told me on the phone when I asked her, when I was talking to her about all this. And she was like, yeah, she was an Indian woman. She was middle brown, probably about like me, she said, with long hair. And not to get the hair confused. That's you always hear our people always say that. They have long hair and this and that. Those are different tribes. We've already know this. Everybody knows you established that. Just like you find over in Africa. Ethiopians and them can have long, pretty hair. That's East Africa. West Africans and stuff like that can have, them kunka bugs. We used to call them when we was younger. Got them BBs, buckshot BBs. So, on that note, I'm going to say shalom. Peace and power to the people. Make sure you're doing your research. Research everything, including yourself, number one, your family. Go through your genealogy. And the genealogy thing is a good thing when you do it yourself also. Because This is something personal, and you're on a personal journey. So, even though a lot of people don't have the time like me, working on that plantation 24/7, sometimes you just got to make time and get it done. The money you can be paying somebody else, you can pay to get you a subscription. And it'll do everything for you. It'll give you the leaves, hints, things like that. Google stuff up. Look up death certificates, birth certificates, army records, military records, census. Everything all plays a role. Look through them. And at the same time, you have a knack for, high strangeness and things like that. Go into that. You have a knack. You see some of the brothers and sisters, that go into the pyramids and dates and things. That's what's going to make us all pull together and make us all sharpen as one. So whenever you're talking to certain people or you're on their platforms, you have everybody in their particular expertise. And that's how we're going to come together. Because whatever's going on is showing us. And one thing I'm going to say, because I'm going to show you guys some things on genealogy and how you're looking up. Shout out to Chief Holiday again on his show, the Sister Bethany, when they was talking about genealogy, pulling up these names on these Native American records and stuff. And you guys finding your family names on there. Right? But then you seeing how they were showing all these tribes, the same with my people. You can find pots in a whole lot of shatas, and you can find them in some of the, I think it's creeks. I was looking at. So a lot of the tribal stuff is mixed up. Genealogy is good, but you're going to find as you're doing it, you're going to find a whole lot of mixing in tribes. So whatever was going on, and the Most High made it this way is to show us that it's who you are. You're on this land. Your genealogy matters. But whatever was going on with our heritage back then has been disconnected from us. And we're going to be brought into a stronger heritage, or something's going to happen in the future. But when you're finding all this and you're like, gosh dang, I got Creek over here. I got Chickasaw. It's dang near like you playing pick a game. Put the tail on a donkey. Right? So with that, you can find what's similar to you. You find the people that you find is similar. This is what's going to happen with us. Because we got all these similar faces all across America. You can find a person that look like me, probably in New York, Alabama, Mississippi. I always hear people saying, you look like such and such. Do you know that person? Nah. We get mistaken like that in the hood. You can be way out in San Fernando Valley, LA. Somebody be like, oh, you look like such and such out in Compton. Or be in Seattle and they say, man, you look like such and such out in Tacoma. Right? So you just got to find who the people that you identify with, you're closer with, they have similar traits to you within those tribes. And then you just, okay, I'm going to ride with this tribe. I like how they get down or how they are. Same thing like gangs and stuff. People join them. You can be standing in certain areas surrounded by 4 different gangs. And you just choose, I like the style of them. I like how they get down or how they carry themselves. This and that. But we all grew up together. But you just like, I like these cats' style. I like these OGs, how they move over there. I don't like these guys. I don't like how they, part of them base heads or this or that. Or they're not good hustlers, or they're not this or they're not that. They ain't got money. They just robbing and having drug addicts and addictions and things like that. So, it's the same thing. We showing and we seeing this before our eyes. So like I said on a note, and shout out to Con Drop, bruh. You the reason why everybody's on the drop. You started all this. And from that, it was Israel Redemption with me. And I heard you guys talking about Israel Redemption. I'm like, oh, wow, they on her too? And then from there, they spun off and created all these branches that you see these cats today. All the books and everything, he provide all this stuff that people just now stumbling across. That brother been doing a terrific job. Shout out to you, Con Drop. You done started all kind of branches. So on that note, again, I want to say, shalom, peace and power to the people. Feathers up. Keep them arrows in the sky. Shalom.